So, Miriam, tell us about yourself.
Um, I am one of those fairly. I'm quite usual in that I came into this business from a direction that I didn't expect to be. So I started out as a theatre technician, doing lighting and sound and stage management, and buying props for London Fringe events and that kind of thing. And I found myself accidentally in music. I didn't mean to go into music, but I accidentally found myself in music, working for a department called Arts, Events and Venues for Hounslow Council. And then from there, from doing outdoor events, I moved into, I was a technical manager in a few places. And then for no reason I could think of, got told that I should be managing outdoor events and suddenly got dropped big outdoor events I'd never done before. So I learned very much on the job how to be an event manager. And then via a number of routes, including being a rep for a promoter for a little while, I found myself as an event manager in an arena. And then that role just developed until I became eventually director of operations. So yeah, that's a potted history of me.
That's an awful lot of history in a short space of time. One of the things that's interesting and why I'm enjoying talking to you is that we both work in the events industry.
Mm-hmm.
There is one specific incident in your career that has affected you both professionally and personally. Are you okay to share some of that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2017, I was the head of events, and we were very busy. We were a busy old venue, not very many event managers, and we had a peak of when the events were going to tail off a little bit and we were going to get a bit of a break. And that peak was a run of Take That was going to come out for a couple of other shows to come in, including Ariana Grande, and then go back in and carry on its run. But on Monday the 22nd of May 2017, we had a suicide bomber waiting outside the venue. So during egress of the event, he detonated himself and killed 22 people. Parents who were waiting for their children who were leaving the venue, older people who were leaving the venue who'd been at the show. And yeah, so that changed the course of my life, the course of the lives of a lot of people, and the course of the arena industry altogether, really. I think it was a sea change.
So if you're uncomfortable with my next question, please feel free to say, yeah, I'm not going to answer, but could you share some of how this incident has affected you on a personal level?
The thing is, whether I'm uncomfortable with these things or not is kind of besides the point, because if I don't share how these things affected me or my colleagues, then it happened for nothing. So much as I do get uncomfortable and I do get very sad, it's really important that these conversations happen all the time. It should always be in everybody's immediate memory, because 8 years on, it starts to fade and it becomes less interesting. And I worried for a little while that people wanted to talk to me out of some salacious gossip need. But I've been assured by a lot of people that the learnings that they get from understanding that could be them is hugely important. So from my own point of view, I think anybody who works in our industry, they don't do it because you don't do it like you work in a bank or an office. You don't do it to earn money. You have to love it, because it takes so much of your life that you and the job are so intertwined. The biggest difficulty for me is that when you are what you do, when you define yourself by what you do for a living, if something breaks or damages that, it breaks and damages you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So I think really that is the biggest thing. I am a different person because of what happened.
So I've heard you speak previously, and I've heard you talking about talking, and how talking amongst your team became therapeutic, I believe you went to a park in Manchester.
We did.
Can you share some? Can you share some of that with us, if you don't mind?
I think the levels of shock that reverberate through the industry, obviously through the world, but through the business, is different for different people. And I think from a management point of view, they were rabbit in the headlights shocked, didn't really know what to do, didn't know how to respond. We were obviously not allowed into the venue at the time. We went to Bridgewater Hall to work because it's a sister venue. So people had set up there. This literally the day after. So it happened on a Monday. On the Tuesday, I met with the other two event managers. So that was Tim Chambers and Susie Allett. And for a lot of time after that, we described ourselves as like a three-legged stool because we literally supported each other. They were fantastic, and still are. They're still such important people to me. They were the people that I texted and phoned on the night, and then we met up the next day. But the management were busy. They were busy being shocked and being rabbits in the headlight and not knowing what to do. And so our teams were left in the cold. They were told not to come to work. There wasn't enough room for them at Bridgewater Hall, so they didn't know what to do. And they were sitting at home. And as far as management were concerned, it didn't matter. They were not here. So they just stay away, don't come anywhere near, just stay away. And so we were getting phone calls from the box office team, from the finance team, from our suppliers, from the medics and the security team going, we don't know what to do. What can we do? We want to meet. And so Tim and Susie and I decided to set up a meeting in Heaton Park. And we were told, don't tell anybody where you work, don't wear any t-shirts, don't wear your lanyards, don't let anybody know who you are. We're like, it's fine. It doesn't matter. So Tim and I went to Asda and bought trays of donuts and bottles of drink and paper cups and blankets and everything else. And we just told everybody that's where we're going to be. We'll be in a particular place under a particular tree in Heaton Park. And everybody turned up. I mean, there was so many people there. And somebody said to me, get up, you've got to say something. I said, I haven't got anything. I don't know what to say. And they said, but you're the most senior person here. I said, I'm not the most senior person here. They said, get up, get up, get up. So I got up and I said, look, what's happened to us doesn't define us. It doesn't define who we are as human beings, and it won't define us as a venue. Our venue is not about that incident. We're not going to allow that person to kill what we have as a venue and what we have as a team. And it will, for the moment, it will. All the focus will be on that. But we don't want the world to say Manchester Arena equals bomb. Because we're more than that. We're more than that one incident. And the building doesn't belong to us at the moment. It belongs to emergency services and MI5 and all the rest of it. But it will belong to us again because it is our building and we will get back to it. So just for now, we just need to breathe, eat donuts, be in the sunshine, and understand that this is going to be a really hard road, but we're in it together. And that's what our management couldn't give us.
That's humbling to hear that. I'd like to share something with you. You're my local big venue. I'm aware of what happened. I'm coming to your venue to prove that you still have my support because I trust you. I'm actually kind of lost for words, and it's very rare for me to be lost for words. The story you've just told us about, your personal, what you felt was right to do, doesn't fit into a process. You just did what was right because it was right in your heart. I've got one more question. What was the investigation process like? How much of a challenge was that for you?
I hesitate to say it, but I would say that it was more of a challenge than the incident itself. That was the time that I didn't sleep. It was awful. It was like somebody cutting you open and holding out your insides for the world to see. And I mentioned in a conversation earlier today that people talk about who to blame, but there's nobody who's a worse critic than yourself. And during the inquiry process was horrendous. I have a lot to say about inquiries and inquiry processes, which you don't have time for here. But I will say that an inquiry is not about gaining the truth. An inquiry only answers the questions that the inquiry asks. So there are so many more things that you can discuss. There are so many more lessons that can be learned that are not just the lesson. The inquiry has an agenda that is based on the families, and absolutely the families need to be central to the conversation. But there are so many other important views on the learnings and the truth. And yes, of course, the families need to know what happened and they need to understand why. But a lot of the time, an inquiry doesn't give them that. It doesn't tell them why, because people will try and defend themselves, because the way that the process is set up, it puts you in a position to defend yourself. And that automatically, for a lot of people, just makes them go, I'm not saying anything other than the answer to the question that you asked me, just in case I get myself into trouble. And I think there needs to be a change in the way that these things are investigated, apart from the fact that to go through every email you've ever sent, every conversation you've ever had, every training you've ever done, and to feel guilty 100% of the time is exhausting. It really is exhausting. And I still feel huge amounts of guilt. I have reconciled myself with some of it. But if we don't talk about it and we don't carry on learning about it, that's when we should feel guilty.
Miriam, it truly has been an honor to be with you for these few minutes. You're clearly an amazing person. I do have one final question. Are you stronger now?
Am I stronger now? That'll take a little bit of inner thought, I think. The first time I ever spoke about it, I was shaking in my boots. And I have learned by talking about it and to people and getting feedback and understand. So am I stronger? Yes, I would say that I am stronger in that I am more confident. I'm more confident to say, I don't know. I'm more confident to say, give me a minute, I need to learn about that. It's very easy when you're an event manager to feel that you should have all of the knowledge and all of the information, and nobody ever does. And it's very difficult to have the strength to say, I don't know. So from that point of view, I would say, yes, I probably am stronger.
Thank you.
Thank you.